What if I told you the Cleveland Browns may have already created the biggest quarterback controversy in football, and OTAs just started? One practice clip. That's all it took. One throw from Shedeur Sanders, and the entire internet exploded. Fans instantly started comparing him to Deshaun Watson, questioning the Browns' organization and asking whether this quarterback battle is actually real. And then things got even crazier when reports started circulating that Watson had already separated himself as QB1 behind the scenes. But only hours later, another insider stepped in and completely shut that narrative down. Now Browns fans are divided, sports media is milking every single practice rep for content, and the pressure on Cleveland is building faster than anybody expected. Because this isn't just about football anymore. This is about money, power, media attention, and whether the Browns are truly willing to hand the future of the franchise to Shedeur Sanders. And after what happened at day one of OTAs, people are starting to believe something much bigger is happening behind the scenes. The wildest part about the first day of Browns OTAs is that Shedeur Sanders barely needed any footage to steal the spotlight. Cleveland didn't release a ton of practice clips. Media access was limited, cameras weren't everywhere, and fans only got small glimpses of what actually happened on the field. But somehow, one connection between Shedeur and KC instantly became the talk of football's social media. The moment that route hit the internet, the reaction was immediate. Fans were replaying it, sports pages started posting screenshots, and people were already claiming the rookie looked more comfortable than expected. It wasn't even some insane 50-yard bomb. It was simply the confidence, timing, and calmness in the throw that grabbed everybody's attention. People noticed how natural he looked operating within the offense. The ball came out clean, the rhythm looked smooth. And most importantly, the energy around the clip felt completely different compared to the reaction surrounding every other quarterback on the roster. That's something people are starting to notice more and more with Shedeur Sanders. Every time he appears on camera, the internet reacts like it's a major event. Fans zoom in on every detail: the footwork, the body language, the chemistry with receivers, even the way teammates respond around him gets analyzed. There's already a belief online that the Browns accidentally drafted a player who's much bigger than football. Shedeur doesn't just bring quarterback potential, he brings attention. He brings traffic. He brings younger fans into the organization. And whether people want to admit it or not, the Browns suddenly feel more relevant nationally because of him. That's why one OTA clip generated more discussion than some entire NFL practices around the league. Meanwhile, when Cleveland posted footage of Deshaun Watson throwing a deep route to Jerry Jeudy, the reaction online was completely different. Instead of excitement, the comments instantly turned toxic. Fans weren't hyping the throw. They were questioning whether they even wanted Watson on the field this season. Some people openly said they wouldn't buy tickets if he started. Others joked that Watson remains undefeated at winning practice, while struggling when the real games begin. And honestly, the frustration didn't appear out of nowhere. Browns fans have spent years hearing about how great Watson supposedly looks in workouts, training camps, and off-season practices. They've seen the headlines before, they've heard the hype before, and after the last few seasons, a lot of people simply aren't buying into off-season clips anymore. That frustration has been building for a while now. Cleveland gave Watson one of the biggest commitments in NFL history, and fans expected a franchise-changing superstar. Instead, the results have been inconsistent, the injuries created more questions, and the pressure surrounding the organization kept growing. So now, every single Watson highlight gets viewed through a completely different lens. Fans don't care about practice throws anymore. They want results on Sundays. And because of that, Shedeur Sanders walked into a situation where many fans were already emotionally exhausted with the veteran quarterback conversation. What makes this situation even more dangerous for Cleveland is the emotional shift happening inside the fanbase. Last season, there were still many fans willing to defend Watson. People kept saying he needed more time, more chemistry, more protection, or a healthier system around him. But now, that patience appears to be disappearing fast. You can feel it online. Browns supporters are becoming increasingly vocal about wanting a completely fresh direction. And Shedeur Sanders represents exactly that. He represents youth, excitement, unpredictability, and possibility. Fans are desperate for something new to believe in, and the moment he stepped onto the practice field, people started attaching hope to him immediately. But then things took a dramatic turn once rumors started spreading that Watson may have already secured the starting role internally. Suddenly, the internet became complete chaos. The biggest explosion came after comments connected to LeSean McCoy started circulating online. Reports claimed McCoy had heard from Brown's sources that Deshaun Watson looked incredible in off-season work and was clearly positioned ahead of Shedeur Sanders. Then additional speculation began growing after discussions tied to Mary Kay Cabot added even more fuel to the fire. Within hours, social media timelines were packed with people debating whether the Browns had already secretly decided the competition before camp even truly started. For Shedeur supporters, this hit like a punch to the stomach. 1 minute fans were celebrating OTA clips and convincing themselves the rookie had a legitimate shot to rise quickly. The next minute, people started fearing the organization was preparing to force Watson into the lineup, no matter what happened on the field. And honestly, many fans believed it immediately because they've seen similar situations happen across the NFL before. Veteran quarterbacks with massive contracts almost always get longer leashes than rookies. That's just reality. Teams invest enormous money into those players, and sometimes organizations struggle to walk away even when things clearly aren't working. The rumors spread insanely fast because people were already emotionally invested in this quarterback battle. Every fan base loves controversy, but this situation feels even more intense because of the personalities involved. Shedeur Sanders entered the NFL carrying one of the biggest names in football. Whether people support him or dislike him, he brings attention everywhere he goes. Add in Deshaun Watson's polarizing history, the Browns' pressure-filled situation, and Cleveland's desperate search for stability at quarterback, and suddenly, this became one of the most talked-about off-season storylines in football. Some fans even started theorizing that the competition was never going to be fair from the beginning. Online speculation claimed the Browns might already feel financially trapped with Watson. Others suggested the organization could be afraid of the media backlash if they benched a quarterback tied to such a massive investment. Again, none of this was confirmed, but once those conversations started spreading online, they grew rapidly. And the more people discussed it, the more suspicious the situation began to look in the eyes of fans. But then something happened that completely shifted the mood around the story. A Browns insider stepped forward and directly pushed back against the narrative. And suddenly, people started questioning everything they had heard earlier. Daniel Oyefusi quickly became one of the most important voices in this entire situation after publicly rejecting the growing reports about Watson already locking down the starting role. According to Oyefusi, the idea that Watson had clearly separated himself simply wasn't accurate. That statement instantly changed the tone online because it directly contradicted the dramatic rumors flying around social media. Fans who were panicking suddenly calmed down. Shedeur supporters started celebrating again, and people immediately began asking why national narratives were forming so aggressively after only early OTA sessions. The timing of Oyefusi's comments mattered a lot too. Browns practices hadn't even reached the physical stages yet. Pads weren't fully involved. Real pressure situations hadn't developed. Coaches still needed to evaluate timing, chemistry, leadership, decision-making, and consistency over a much larger sample size. So when people heard claims that Watson had already won the battle, many started realizing how ridiculous that sounded this early into the process. That's why Daniel Oyefusi's response carried so much weight. Fans viewed it as someone close to the team quietly telling people to slow down and stop overreacting to premature narratives. Because realistically, how could any quarterback truly separate himself this quickly? Especially in a situation where the Browns know the entire football world is watching every move they make. And some fans believe that's exactly why these rumors started appearing in the first place. There's growing speculation online that certain media personalities understand how massive this story could become. Think about it. Every headline involving Shedeur Sanders generates attention instantly. Every clip goes viral. Every debate gets engagement. So naturally, reports suggesting Watson already has the edge would trigger emotional reactions across both fan bases. Whether intentional or not, the controversy itself became content. At the same time, this situation also exposed something deeper about the Browns organization. Fans clearly don't trust the process completely. The moment rumors surfaced about Watson having the inside track, many supporters immediately assumed money and politics were involved. That says a lot about where the relationship currently stands between the franchise and its fan base. And honestly, that led people to an even bigger question. Is this quarterback battle actually fair? That question is becoming impossible to ignore, because no matter how talented Shedeur Sanders might look during practices, many fans still believe Deshaun Watson enters camp with advantages nobody else on the roster has. The financial commitment alone changes everything. Cleveland invested an unbelievable amount into Watson, and organizations rarely admit mistakes that large without exhausting every possible opportunity first. That's why some fans fear Shedeur could outperform expectations and still remain stuck behind Watson anyway. Online discussions are filled with people wondering whether the Browns would actually have the courage to make a major switch if the rookie starts generating momentum during camp. Some believe performance will decide everything fairly. Others think the organization may already feel pressured internally to justify Watson remaining the face of the franchise. There's also another layer making this situation even more complicated. Shedeur Sanders doesn't arrive quietly. He comes with cameras, headlines, social media attention, and non-stop discussion. Every move he makes becomes national conversation. That creates enormous pressure on the coaching staff because every quarterback rep suddenly gets analyzed like a playoff game. If Shedeur throws a touchdown during practice, people immediately demand he should start. If Watson has a good session, supporters argue the veteran deserves respect. The Browns are operating inside a media storm right now, and training camp hasn't even fully begun. Reports and speculation online have also suggested there could be differing opinions internally regarding the future direction of the team. Again, nothing confirmed, but fans are paying attention to every small clue. Some people believe the organization wants stability with Watson. Others think younger players naturally gravitate towards Shedeur's energy and leadership style. The truth is probably far more complicated somewhere in the middle. But because fans already distrust the situation, every rumor suddenly feels believable. History also plays a huge role here. NFL fans have seen rookie quarterbacks buried behind struggling veterans before. Sometimes teams delay transitions because they hope expensive contracts can still work out. Other times, organizations genuinely believe development takes time. But when a rookie captures fan excitement this quickly, patience becomes much harder to maintain, especially when the veteran ahead of him already carries heavy criticism. And the contrast between the two quarterbacks keeps growing stronger by the day. Watson enters camp with expectations, pressure, and skepticism surrounding him. Shedeur enters camp with momentum, curiosity, and growing support from fans who desperately want to believe the Browns finally found a new identity. That emotional difference matters more than people realize. But while everyone argued about quarterback politics, something else happened during OTAs that many people completely overlooked, and it may have quietly revealed where the future of this franchise is heading. One thing that stood out immediately from early Browns practice footage was how naturally Shedeur Sanders seemed to connect with younger players around him. People started noticing the sideline interactions, the conversations between reps, and the overall energy whenever he was involved. Even from limited footage, fans felt there was a noticeable spark surrounding him. And in today's NFL, that matters more than ever. Quarterbacks are no longer judged solely by statistics. Teams also evaluate branding, leadership presence, locker room chemistry, and fan connection. Shedeur already checks several of those boxes before even playing a regular season snap. Younger audiences are obsessed with him. Sports pages constantly post him because engagement numbers explode every time his name appears. And whether critics like it or not, the Browns suddenly have one of the most marketable young players in football sitting inside their quarterback room. There's also growing speculation that teammates genuinely enjoy his confidence and personality. Again, nobody inside the locker room is publicly choosing sides, but fans notice body language. They notice interactions, and people online are already convinced that Shedeur carries a different type of presence around the facility. Some even compared the current atmosphere to the excitement surrounding young franchise quarterbacks in other cities before they officially took over. Financially, culturally, and emotionally, the Browns could benefit massively from a successful Shedeur era. Ticket sales would surge, primetime attention would grow, national coverage would explode, merchandise numbers would likely go crazy. More importantly, the franchise would suddenly feel fresh again. Cleveland has spent years trapped in stressful quarterback conversations, but Shedeur represents hope, entertainment, and a complete reset of the narrative. That's why some fans believe the Browns may have accidentally revealed their long-term future already, not because of any official announcement, but because of the way people respond whenever Shedeur appears. The excitement feels organic. The internet reacts instantly. Younger fans see him as the future, and organizations pay attention to that kind of energy whether they admit it publicly or not. What makes this even crazier is that the reaction has now evolved far beyond normal football fandom. It's becoming a movement online. Every single Browns OTA clip involving Shedeur Sanders now feels like a playoff highlight to certain fans. Social media pages break down his footwork frame by frame. YouTube creators upload reaction videos within minutes. Sports debate shows are suddenly discussing Cleveland non-stop. The Browns became one of the hottest off-season topics in football almost overnight, and a huge reason for that is the emotional investment people have placed into Shedeur's journey. Sports media channels are absolutely farming this story for views right now because they understand how powerful the engagement is. Every practice update becomes content. Every rumor becomes debate fuel. Even small moments during workouts create thousands of comments online. And because there's still uncertainty about who eventually starts, the suspense keeps growing stronger. There's also an interesting divide happening within the fan base itself. Traditional Browns supporters often approach the situation more cautiously. Some want to see real games before crowning anybody. Others still believe Watson deserves another opportunity. Meanwhile, newer Shedeur supporters are treating every positive practice moment like proof that the future has already arrived. That clash creates non-stop online arguments, which only pushes the story even further into the spotlight. Kevin Stefanski is now sitting directly in the middle of all this pressure. Every quarterback rotation decision will get analyzed. Every media comment will get dissected. If Watson starts slowly during camp, fans will immediately demand Shedeur. If Shedeur struggles at any point, critics will claim the hype was premature. There's almost no way for the coaching staff to avoid controversy now because expectations surrounding this battle have grown way beyond normal OTA conversations. And honestly, there's a real possibility this becomes one of the defining NFL media stories entering the season. The ingredients are perfect. A polarizing veteran quarterback, a massively popular rookie with superstar attention, a desperate franchise searching for answers, a divided fan base, viral social media clips, constant insider speculation. It almost feels designed for non-stop headlines. But that's why this entire situation feels bigger than football now. People aren't only debating talent anymore. They're debating trust, business decisions, organizational direction, and the future identity of the Cleveland Browns. Because if Shedeur Sanders continues building momentum throughout camp, the pressure on Cleveland is going to become unbearable. Fans will demand answers. Media personalities will push stronger narratives. Every practice rep will become national conversation. And eventually, the Browns organization may have to make one of the most important decisions in franchise history. Do they stick with the veteran tied to a massive investment? Or do they hand the future to the rookie who already has the internet believing he could change everything? That's the question hanging over Cleveland right now. And after only one day of OTAs, the tension already feels explosive. What happens next could completely reshape the entire season before week 1 even arrives. Because if Shedeur keeps stacking good practices while Watson keeps carrying the weight of fan frustration, this battle may spiral into something nobody inside the organization can control anymore. And the craziest part, day 2 of Brown's OTAs might completely change the narrative all over again.